Okay. Hi. Today, our lecture will focus on uh, how architects estimate and request fees from their clients. This is a very important point for the architect to know how to ask for fees and the proper way to request. We have a saying in this regard that there are two types of fools. The one who asks for too little and the one who asks for too much. You should request or ask for appropriate fees, not too little and not too much. Too little will not compensate for your efforts. Too much will make you lose the job and maybe the client will not select you. So you have to think properly and request the appropriate amount of compensation. We say that adequate compensation is in the best interest of the client. The client should understand that the fees they pay to the architect are important and they guarantee the production of good quality of work. Usually clients hesitate and are not encouraged to pay good amounts of fees because they say, well, I will pay this for some papers. I'd rather keep it for the construction stage. But the architect has a job or a responsibility to educate the client about the importance of providing good or adequate compensation, because it means that you will deliver the appropriate level of service. Also, as the saying goes, when you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. You should not consider paying too little as a good achievement. No, it's going to make you lose the good quality that is anticipated. Before بس مش معقولة يعني الناس تيجي الجامعة وتقعد تدور على ورقة وقلم يعني. انتوا مش جايين نادي يعني. So before requesting the compensation or the fees, you have to do project planning and pricing exercise. So you have to identify what kind of services you are going to provide. We have large number of services that we can provide as architects. And for these services, we request compensation or fees. The scope of work or services is very much tied to the type of project and the level of complexity. So the architect first job is to propose the services he or she can provide and request compensation for these services. So the first part is you have to do some project planning. احنا كلنا عارفين ان احنا لما بنيجي هنا بنطلب الكورنين نوتس. مش معقولة كل واحد داخل يقعد يسأل التاني على ورقة يعني. طيب, what are the services that are appropriate for the owner and the project? And what services can you provide? So these are two important issues. And what will it take to define the scope of the project? You have to understand the project and the complexity, the details needed, the stages, and all these elements of the project. So project planning is important before requesting fees or compensation in order to identify the services that you are going to provide and the compensation that you will request. We have to submit to the client what we call a fee proposal. At the beginning of the project, you have to submit a fee proposal in order to be selected by the client. It can also be proposed or submitted later after some discussion with the client to understand exactly what they want. The owner might send you an RFP, and this is an important terminology that is used, which is request for proposal. They can send you a letter or an email or a correspondence requesting a fee proposal. So they will tell you about their project and the services required, and you submit the proposal. Usually the request for proposal is not a single request. It can be repeated several times until the owner and the architect reach a common understanding and conclusion. Sometimes it is expressed verbally. The client would ask you, I want to build a hospital. How much is your fees? Okay, I accept. Yalla, go ahead and start your work. This is not recommended. Everything must be on paper, written, submitted properly, and approved in writing. Again, everything must be approved in writing, not only verbal. The proposal can be half page, or it can be a package of detailed deliverables, timing, schedule. So it depends on the client and the type of work being done. You have to prepare the proposal. Sometimes there is no proposal, which is not recommended at all, and the client offers terms of what appears to be take it or leave it basis. They will tell you, okay, I want you to design a hospital for me for £10,000. Take it or leave it. And this is the cheapest type of negotiation and discussion. How do we define our services? We can select from a menu. there are certain items that you discuss with the client and go over a long list of services and check which ones the client needs. Or after some experience, you start to have your predefined packages of services. If the client wants schematic design only, I know how much it costs. If they want design and construction documents, if they want design, construction documents, and supervision. So these are different packages that after some experience, your office will have a good understanding of what is the project size, the complexity. Is it a hospital, a hotel, a house, and the amount of effort that will be required to achieve that. From cost to price, the compensation fee proposal can have different forms of payment. And we have some well-known compensation methods that we use. First one is called lump sum fee. So you ask the client for a specific amount of money. I will take 10,000 pounds for this project. This is a lump sum. Or the more professional type known all over the world is percentage of construction cost. The architect requests 2%, 4%, 3% of the construction cost. At the beginning of the project, they estimate the cost and request fees based on this cost estimation. And after the tendering, they know exactly the cost based on the contractor's submissions, and they adjust the fees after this stage. There is also a unit cost. If you are designing, let's say, a gated community or a touristic village, and it has a master plan and 500 units, 500 villas, 300 apartment buildings, 2 shopping malls, the construction cost will be very high. But as an architect, you will not design each one individually. You design a prototype, and the prototype is repeated 500 times. So the cost or the fees at that condition depends on the unit cost. So you will get fees for the master plan of the whole neighborhood or gated community or touristic village, and you get fees for units. The first unit usually is a higher fee, and then the repeated units is less than the first one. So architects who design large complexes, they don't take fees for the whole project. They take fees for the units that they design, and then the owner or the client and the contractor repeat it in the project. You can also have some combinations. I'll take a lump sum for the site plan, and then a unit cost for the prototype, and then I'll take a smaller percentage for the repeated types. So projects are not all the same. You have to think about the project type and the planning for the project. As I said, we have certain types of compensation that we usually follow: the lump sum fee, the construction cost, the unit cost, and the repetitive units cost. This is also happening when you design an office building 40 floors. Do you take fees based on the construction of the whole tower or per floor? Because the floor will be typical. So sometimes things become more complex and need negotiations and discussions with the client to reach a good conclusion. As I said, you can approach the fees selecting from a menu. That makes the client understand what are you heading at. So you select the components that you will provide that are related to the project, that are requested by the client, and you sign an agreement based on these services. The basic design services that we provide start from the schematic design phase, the design development phase, where you bring the consultants from different disciplines to develop the project so you can start on the construction documents. So you have a menu for the project administration and management, and you go through it with the client and select from the menu the items that you are going to work on. So I have discipline coordination, documents checking. So this is a service. From experience, you will understand how much time and effort and manpower will be involved in this type of work. Agency consulting, review approval. Are you going to submit drawings to the licensing bodies, the municipalities, to get approvals? This is a task. This is a work that requires effort and visits and reviews. Owner-supplied data coordination, schedule, development, and monitoring, preliminary estimate of the cost of the project. This is a very important type of work that many people focus on now as a professional activity. So you can work on providing cost estimates, presentation. Maybe the client has a design, but he needs presentation boards, flyers, catalogs. So this would be a service that you provide. You can work on programming. We have several offices now that are specialized in programming only. They do educational programming, health facilities programming, airport programming. They're specialized in certain building types, schools, universities, in programming only. Programming requires a lot of effort, requires investigations, data collection, analysis, and so forth. Space, schematic, flow diagrams, existing facilities surveys, if there are existing buildings and the client wants to survey them and have as-built drawings for them. Marketing, economic feasibility studies. You work with an economist to find the feasibility study of the project. How much offices should I build? How many shops should I build? how big, what is the quality of the shops that are going to be in this project? Is it a high-end shopping mall or a medium or a low type shopping mall? How much, what is appropriate for the area, for the catchment area of the project? How much do you expect to sell or rent? All these are important types of work that as architects, we have a say in it. We don't do it alone, but we do it with other consultants who are specialized in this. Project financing, this is becoming an important service that the architect can provide. Usually people don't pay money from their pocket. What they do is they have a land and they develop the design and they take the whole package to a bank and say, I'm planning to build a shopping center here that will cost 250 million. And I would like to have a line of credit from the bank to finance this project. The bank studies the project, the background of the client, and approve the line of credit to start the project. With the phases of the project, the bank will release amounts of money, 50 million, 20 million, and so forth, so that the construction goes on. This is an important service that the architect has to provide to the client. And it requires documents, drawings, studies, and so forth. طبعا site development services, you know more about site analysis and selection. Sometimes the client doesn't have a site and would like you to help him or her to to select an appropriate site. So you have to do site selection. You have to select 2, 3, or 4 appropriate sites for a maternity hospital. Where should I put it? What is the site condition? What is the access, the parking, the neighbors? So you have to do site evaluation and selection. Site development planning, you know, of course, the site development, detailed site utilization, on-site utility studies. There are existing water pipes, electricity lines, drainage. You have to study the site. Off-site, the service utilities around the site. Environmental studies and reports are becoming a specialization now to provide environmental impact assessment studies. What will be the impact of the project on the surrounding area, on the underground water, on the air quality? So the architect also provides this service. And this is very important because it will tie with the sustainability of the project later on. The zoning, geotechnical engineering, the soil types, the soil samples, and what is the appropriate level of for foundations. Site surveying, you already took a course in surveying to understand the topography of the site. So the contract documents will require architectural design, documentation, structural, mechanical, electrical, civil, landscape, interior, special design and documentation, materials, research and specifications. All this is part of your job. You have to identify exactly with the client, what are you going to do and what are the deliverables? What are you going to present? So that they don't come in the middle of the project and tell you, oh, okay, please review the structural, mechanical, electrical, civil. This was not part of my scope. I can do it, but it will require fees and compensation. So everything must be clear, very clear from the beginning, the bidding stage, Are you going to participate in the bidding or not? This requires also fees and compensation, bidding materials, addenda, bidding and negotiation, analysis of alternatives. You have 6 or 7 contractors. You need to look at each submission and analyze the cost and the proposed methods and the manpower of the contractor and the experience. Special bidding, bid evaluation, and the contract award to the contractor. And then the contract administration, after you select the contractor, the how we are going to apply, the submittal services, observations, project representation, testing, inspections, supplemental documents, quotations. All these are until the project close out. The project is finished and submitted to the owner for actual use. Post-contract, you finish the project. Now you have the post-contract. You can also provide services. You can provide maintenance and operational programming. If there is no good maintenance, quality of the design and the building will be reduced very quickly. So you have to provide timetables for the maintenance, what machines should be checked, reviewed, elevators, chillers, air handling units. All these elements should have a program. Startup assistance, this is very important because maybe you will finish the project, but then how will it start work? Who's going to go first? Should I, when I open a school, should I send the students first, or the administration, or the janitors, or the teachers? Who's going to go first? So this is all prepared by the architect to help the client understand how the project will operate. Record drawings, this is extremely important to have drawings of the existing conditions for the future maintenance. Warranty reviews, the insurance companies, the warranties for the project continues to happen, and post-contract evaluation of the project. And there are other services that you have to consider that the client might ask you. First of all, renderings. In the middle of the project or at the end of the project, maybe the client will ask, oh, can you do 2 or 3 perspectives for me to use for the advertisement? This is not for free. Everything has a cost. It's time, expertise, and money. Model. They ask, oh, can you build a model for us? Can you do some pamphlets? I wanted to take some photos of the building after if it's finished. So they have to understand life cycle cost analysis, value analysis. All these are services. Furniture, finishings, and equipment services. We don't design furniture. We design the buildings. If you want me to design the furniture, this is a service. Requires compensation. So we have to understand carefully all the types of work architects do. Energy studies, environmental monitoring, sustainability assessment, certification, LEED certification. All these are leasing if they are going to rent the shops or the offices. How will this happen? What is the lease requirements? And all these are services. So the packages are usually divided into basic services that we all know about, and the additional services that you can add from the services that we talked about. The basic services, of course, the 5 basic services of the architect: schematic design, design development, construction documents, bidding and negotiation, and construction contract administration. So these are the basic 5 services that architects provide. Each one can have tens of other services that should be clarified. So these are the basic services, starting from the schematic design to the design development, construction documents, bidding and negotiation, and construction contract administration, supervising the contract during work. The cost of these services usually is not a uniform one. Schematic design takes about 12 to 25% of your effort and time and money. Design development, another 12 to 25. Construction documents, they usually take most of the effort of the architect to produce. If combined with the design development, this will reach almost 70%. So these are the most important stages. And as I said last time, from one stage to the next, you have to have signature approval, signed approval, not verbal. And then the bidding and negotiation is a very short period of time, about 2.5 to 6.5%. And then the construction phase, it depends on what is required. You can have continuous supervision, or you can have partial supervision, or you can have occasional supervision. You can hire architects to be resident in the site all the time, supervising daily what's going on, writing reports, or you can visit the site once per week or twice per month, or you can visit the site occasionally when needed. So these are different types of construction supervision that you need to identify with the client. Each one requires completely different compensation. The fee breakdown is similar to the stages that we talked about 15% for the schematic design, 20% for design development, 40% for construction documents, 5% for bidding, 20% for construction administration. Usually the disciplines will also require percentages of your fees. So it has to be clear. Am I going to include the fees of the consultants in my fees, or it will be paid by the owner? Will I select the consultants, or the consultants will be provided by the owner? All these are very problematic issues that can create difficulties later on. So the fee proposal also states how will the fees be paid. So upfront, you will request 10% of the fees to start the work. As I said, don't work for free. There has to be a fee proposal with the payments schedule. 10%. After you get approval for the schematic design, you get 10%. Approval from the building control, you get a license for the construction. And then you do design development, construction drawings, tendering, and during construction, you get 30%. These, of course, are not fixed percentages. They are negotiable. You can change one. If you don't have one of these services, you can move it to another service and so forth. So also the size and type of the project, they change the packaging of the fees. It can be a very small project, a villa, a chalet, something small. It can be an interior design of a shop or a house. You need to clarify who's going to do the furniture, who's going to supervise the construction, the equipment. Is it going to involve project management or not? And it can also be a design build. You can take the project as a design build. You design and construct through your firm. So it's very important at this stage to be very close and work with the client very closely to clarify the project, to understand the requirements, to identify the services and deliverables, very important. How many drawings will you deliver? 20 drawings, one model, 3 perspectives. So you have to define. And what it takes to finish or complete the project. So as I said, there are methods also, like the lump sum. You ask for a whole amount of money, or if you don't know how much will the project cost or how much will you invest in the project, you can use the hour cost basis. So you agree that you will work and the amount of hours, the number of hours will be compensated for your work. So the project plan must be constructed very carefully. And the estimated fees and compensation, they are usually based on your own expertise and experience. You don't expect to gain too much money from the first project or a second project or a third project. You need to build up experience so that you can start benefit from this process. So the project planning is an opportunity to talk with the client, to understand the project, to make them understand the project. Usually clients, they have a title, but they don't understand the details and what is involved in making this project. So both parties will benefit from these early discussions. Both the owner and the architect will have good opportunity to understand the project, the stages, the required approvals, the required specialized services, and so forth. It gives you also time to organize your team. Each project requires different teams to work on. You might not have enough manpower inside your office, so you have some time to get architects to work for you. You need to purchase some computers or plotters. You need to talk to several consultants who did similar projects before. So you can use this time to create or arrange your team. And how will the project affect your office? It can be a big office that takes a lot of time, and you already have 2 or 3 running projects. So how will they be affected by this project? So you need to be prepared so that you don't lose the current projects for the new project. It also helps you and to build a foundation for agreement and trust with the client. So when you think about the fees, you can think in two directions. You can think bottom up. You think about the tasks that you will be performing and who will do it and how much time will they spend. A ground floor plan will take 2 days, 10 hours, in 20 hours. The employee gets 100 pounds per hour. The office overhead is another 100 pounds per hour. So this drawing will require 200 pounds per hour per 20. So it requires 4,000 pounds. So I know exactly how many hours, how many manpower, and the cost of this particular work or job. That's why when you are in the office, you have to keep a log or a timetable. And in the timetable, you write, I started today at 9 a.m. and I worked in project A for 3 hours. And then I moved to project B for 5 hours. And this is monitored by the job captain or the office manager. And if they feel that you are wasting time and not producing, you will be replaced immediately. So this is a type of planning. So the total cost will be the lump sum of this or the of these tasks of the project. Another thing, as you said, maybe the project has a certain fee, and you break it down to the tasks that you can do with this amount of money. So from the beginning, the client knows that you are going to pay this amount of money. This is the service I can provide for this amount. I can provide more if you're going to pay more. So decide if the task is to be approved by the architecture firm with its own staff, by the architect, subcontractor to a specialist consultant, by another consultant to the owner, by the owner with its own forces. So the process is clear from the beginning who is going to decide on the project. The word deliverables is very important. Deliverables, what will you deliver at each stage? Exactly how many drawings, what size? Is it 50 by 70 or 100 by 70 or A3 or A4? Is there a report? Everything takes time, and time is money. Who is going to do it? What are the key project tasks? If there are approvals that will delay your progress, if there are inspections that will delay your progress. So all this must be accounted for. And the project management tasks, the expertise, the time, and the resources. Do you have enough tables in your office? Do you have enough computers? Do you have enough plotters? Do you have a good internet connection? Do you have a software license? All these are important office management requirements. Then you have to construct a schedule to illustrate the type of work and the amount of work that will be done. We have several types of scheduling. The simplest one is what we call a milestone. A milestone is a simple list of activities, and each activity, beside it, you write how many days do I need to finish this activity. And this is not a very informative. It tells you about the number of days, but it doesn't tell you the overlap of each service. Sometimes I can start two services together, or I have to wait for this to finish in order to start this. So it's not very informative. The other type is you have to, of course, to follow up the progress by, as a job captain, have a table of who is doing what and what is it, when is it expected to finish, and so forth. The other type is well known, of course, is the bar chart. The bar chart lists the activities and the months and years, and each activity is represented by a line. You can do this using Excel spreadsheet. You can do it using Microsoft Project. You can use it, do it using Primavera, which is the highest level of scheduling used by contractors and consultants. So here we see when will the task start, when it is expected to finish, and the overlap of the tasks. So this task overlaps with this, so I can start here. This I cannot start unless this is finished. We usually add another line because this is expected. I add another line for the actual. Maybe this one started later, so it will take these 2 months. Then this one needs to be shifted here. So I also do an actual, and some people who are very sophisticated, they add a third line, which is an adjusted schedule. So I have the estimated, the actual, and the adjusted in order to meet the same deadline. So I might compress some activities and so forth. The Primavera uses even more sophisticated scheduling. It depends on what we call a critical path method. Critical path method defines each activity and links it to the next activity or several activities. And this is an active schedule. If you change the date here, all the rest will be changed automatically. So it is an interactive tool that allows you to monitor and forecast the future. So each task is linked to other tasks that are related to it. A door, for example. What do you need to make a door? Several steps. You need to have a rough opening, and then the carpenter should come to make the frames, and then another carpenter or the door, industrial door, will come to be fixed. And after you finish, you need to put the outer skirting. And later you need a painting and polishing. And then the glass guy will come. So for the door, you need 5 or 6 trades that come one after the other. So each type of work requires connection and make sure that it's related to all the types of work that it is done. So will we compare these types of scheduling? It depends on the complexity of the project, the type of client you have, and the expertise you have, because to do scheduling of this type requires time and skills. So to develop a good project schedule, you need to have a task list. All the activities should be included. Discuss contingencies. If any delays or problems happen, what will you do? You have to have some flexibility, of course, as expected, and consider an interactive approach to include everyone in the planning: consultants, contractors, subcontractors, because each one can have a different input. So the types of compensation that we talked about, they all depend on the cost of the project. So you have to have an experience, and you can also find several resources on the internet that provide you the information of the unit cost of the project or the meter square in all countries around the world. There's a company called Gleeds. It provides this information internationally. Turner, they also provide it internationally. So you can find in the month of February how much was the cost of offices, meter square of luxurious offices in Cairo, or 5-star hotel, or 3-star hotel. So they provide this information continuously. So from your experience and information, you can have a first cut budget. So you have understanding of the cost of the project, and you understand what will be your service and how much will it cost. So you can give a first cut budget depending on the expertise that you have. There are other types, of course, what we call no-brainer. So based on recent, very similar projects for the same client. So I just finished a villa, and then the neighbor came and said, I wanted to do the same villa for me, but it's a little bit smaller or bigger. So you have from my, okay, I took 50,000 for this one, so I will take 45,000 for this. This is what's called no-brainer, without thinking, based on your expertise. Or it can be built up, as you said, or it can start from top down if there is a certain fee provided by the client. What helps us here is this, again, the cartoon set. We talked about the cartoon set in the construction documents phase, where you develop a set of mock-up of all the drawings that will be delivered, and who's doing it, when did they start, when do they expect to finish. So this will help you to understand the scope of the project on A4 size paper quickly, and estimate the cost based on similar projects or previous experience. The lump sum is a fixed amount of money for specific sets of services. If the client wants more services, it can be a cost plus based. The lump sum has advantages and disadvantages. Advantages for the client because they know beforehand how much will they pay. Disadvantage for the architect because the job might take more effort and more time, and maybe you don't have good experience to estimate the cost, so you end up losing money. The cost plus is good for the architect because you make sure that you will not lose money. But it's not good for the client because they suspect maybe you will increase the cost to get more money and so forth. So you have to build a trust, a mutual trust with the client. For clients like the lump sum, it also forces the architect to be more efficient and more punctual. But of course, you can lose money from it. Cost plus is another type that you provide the actual time per hour based, or you provide the client with a cost of the project and add 20%. But this sounds a bit more like a contractor, not a consultant. So cost plus is difficult or impossible to establish a stipulated sum at the outset. So it's difficult for the clients to understand. You have to also be open to some hourly based services. If there are some services that are not known, or there is a stop and start in the project, and this is very common, or unfamiliar construction methods that require special contractors. So each type of compensation method has advantages and disadvantages that you have to understand how to work with. A construction cost, of course, ties the compensation to the construction cost. The client will tell you, how do we know the construction cost? We start with an estimate, and then it will be according to the bidding. You are going to do the design. Why do you have to take percentage of the construction cost? Just take the cost of your effort. So all these types of negotiations and discussions, they are not nice, but you have to go through them with consultants with ease and nice conversation, and educate the client of what are the benefits and disadvantages of each one. So the construction cost, it's the most professional type of compensation that is used in the profession. Sometimes, what if the estimated cost is higher than the actual cost? Will you repay the client money? Yeah, it's a bit debatable. Or it can be according to the estimate, and that's it. You don't have to do anything with the bidding. There are psychological factors that affect the compensation. The client may say, oh, you are trying to increase the cost so that you get more percentage. Or what if the bidding came lower than what you expected? So it is all negotiable. It's not a fixed method or way. So as we said, if there is a repetition, you can have a cost per building, and then a cost per repetitive unit, or a floor area. You are designing a 10,000 meter square office building. Should you take fees for the 10,000 or the first 500? All these are negotiable issues that you need to think about. So repetition does not guarantee increase of fees. These are different types of compensation and comparisons between benefits of each one for the client and the architect. And these are the percentages of the different compensation methods used by architects. The lump sum is about 32% of the architects go with this. Only 19% manage to take percentage of construction cost, 17% hourly rate, 15% professional fee plus, or hourly rate multiplied by a factor, about 11%. So architects use different types of compensation based on their expertise, based on the project, based on the owner. All these are variables that you have to consider. As we said, repetitive projects are not repeated in compensation. You have to work with the client and ask questions all the time and find answers for them. What will the project has some changes? What if there is new specialization required? Maybe you are designing a nice campus and then they have a theater. لا بعد المحاضرة. And maybe they require you to do a sound design for the theater. This requires a special consultant. Lighting design. So you might need other specializations to come in later in the project. You have to make sure what kind of services, what level of detail, document the internal budget carefully. In the office, you have to be very careful when documenting the budget, the cost of the project, because you will use it again later as a benchmark for future projects. So it's very careful that you document every thing that happens. And even the management of the office, this is part of the cost. The tea and coffee and light and papers and printers and all these are part of the cost overhead. And it has to be documented carefully. As we said, involve people, track expenses, build your own database. This is the value of your office, the database that you have of previous experiences and previous types of work that you did. As we conclude, as we say that there is no best method for compensation. You have to think about the advantages and disadvantages of each one and the appropriateness for the project at hand. So I think we talked about this before. I wanted to show you the fees that are provided by the Syndicate of Engineers. They have لائحة تقدير الأتعاب that provides information about the types of work and the compensation proposed by the syndicate. And how you make, طبعا there are برضه forms for the agreement between the architect and the client. The agreement and what will happen if it's cancelled and how will you be paid. If there are some disagreements, how will it be resolved? And then how the fees are calculated. These are the types of work and what is your responsibility. And then they provide these tables. جدول أتعاب الفئة الأولى اللي هي types of projects. أعمال بسيطة، أسواق ريفية، منازل بسيطة. So they tell in the preliminary project If it's less than 10,000, you don't get anything. And then 0.35, 0.3, 0.25. The more cost of the project, of course, the less is the percentage. This is the most simple type of projects. And this is type 2. These are like villas, exhibitions, swimming pools, universities, colleges, and so forth. This is the most common type. So in the preliminary project, if it's more than 200,000, of course, everything now is more than 200,000. So these are the list of percentages you get for each type. So they estimate that for this type, you get total of 9% of the cost of the project. And this is very high. No one follows it, except in governmental contracts. This is the benefit of doing governmental contracts, because you get fees according to the syndicate, because this is a law. So you cannot have a project with a governmental body that is not following the law of the country. So that's why people are very eager to get projects through a governmental agency. This is the third type, which has more details about detailed designs and projects. This is the table for the repetition of the units and what is the percentage you get for each one. Less than 2,000 does not exist anymore. I think the table needs to be updated with new estimates and costs. And then there are the different articles that are related to what if the project is far from the place of the office? How much will you be paid for construction supervision? You need, of course, compensation for the travel, for the accommodation, and so forth. So it has all these articles that clarify the table of compensation, even land divisions, master planning, how much do you pay for the specialists, and so forth. Okay, I don't think we need this now. This is what we call the project pro forma. This is a tool that architects use to estimate the cost of the project based on the stages and different types of work. And this is what they use to estimate their fees. The important thing here is that we have two types of cost: the cost of the project and the cost of the construction. The cost of the project involves everything: land price, consultants, licensing, everything. But the construction cost is the cost of the construction of the project alone. So you estimate the cost by multiplying the number of square meters by the meter square price. You get the cost and you estimate your budget according to that. This is what they call the pro forma. And it's, they usually use database and get information from previous projects or an Excel spreadsheet, and you feed in all the information. So we will request you to provide us with a cost estimate of your graduation project, a simple report, how many square meters do you have, and how much is the cost per meter, and for construction only, and how much do you expect to get as fees? So if your project is 4,500,000 and your professional fee is 5% to 15%, how much money will you get? 5% will be $225,000, and congratulations for your first job. طبعا you need to calculate this very carefully before submitting it to a client, because it will stick in their mind and will not be able to change it later. So can be adjusted according to what you need. So you have professional fees. If it's 20, 40, 25, 15, and the actual professional fee will be around this number. Thank you very much. And I will send you the assignment after the class to do a cost estimate and fee proposal for your project. And let's see how much money will you make if you actually design your project for your office. Thank you very much.